Welcome to tonight's episode of Newz and Trendz with Dave and Len. This is David Coker of Dave Mark Inc. and promoter, manager of artists and a lot of other things that I do. I don't want to talk too much about myself, along with my partner.
Yep, and this is Leonard Young, CEO of National Black Guide, Black Media Specialist, and all-around good guy.
Good. Hey, how you doing, sir?
Good. No complaints. What about you? How was your? I was about to say Christmas, but how was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving went very well. I got a chance to eat and be merry, before the holidays come, and hopefully be able to make it to the next holiday, but I had a decent day.
You talking about Christmas? You hoping to make it to Christmas?
I'm hoping to make it to the next one,
right,
so.
Yeah. Definitely.
What about you?
Mine was good. Yeah, so I ended up kind of going on a trip, and it was a great trip. So had a lot of fun and a lot of sun, and made it back safely. I didn't catch COVID. All my tests were negative.
Okay.
So everything was good. No complaints.
Wow. Okay. Well, some of us had to stay grounded, but it must be nice to go on trips and everything.
Yeah, but you said you don't like to travel, though.
Well, I'm not big on travel right now, but I do like to travel from time to time. But
Gotcha.
I'm glad you got a chance to get away. You probably needed it, right?
Yeah, always.
Okay. All right. Well, since we talked about the trip and not catching COVID and everything, I guess we can just go ahead into our first topic, which happens to be since Thanksgiving week, we've learned of a new variant of COVID called Omicron. And apparently this variant is supposed to be the most infectious one yet.
Now, don't we hear that every variant?
Yeah, I guess we're right. Yeah,
I mean, we heard that about the Delta variant, and
I know I'm getting scared because every time they come out with these different names, I heard a joke on TV the other day. They were talking about the Delta variant, and they were saying how the Delta airline people are probably happy that this one's called Omicron.
right.
So they can get them off their backs right now.
Right.
And
real quick, did you hear about trending? People are calling it the Omicron virus.
Yes, I did hear that. As a matter of fact, the first time I ever heard of it, somebody mispronounced it as the Omicron variant.
And I can't lie, the first time I heard of it, I mispronounced it too. I called it the I can't even think what I called it, but it wasn't the what is it?
Omicron.
Yeah,
Omicron. Yeah. So it's crazy because right now we're at this point that could be a lightning rod is one of those things that you don't talk about. As a matter of fact, I think we mentioned it in our last show, but it's kind of hard not to talk about it, and especially with this new variant coming out. I know I was taking a look, and they were talking about the scientists are not even sure whether the vaccines that we've already had and the booster and all of this stuff is going to work against this particular variant. It's just crazy. They're doing the testing now to try to find out if it's going to be effective or whether they're going to have to come up with something else. Is this our life now? Is this where we're going to be?
Yeah, and I mean that's a great question because I mean think about it. So right now we've been wearing masks probably come March almost 2 years, and it's so funny to hear people, like for me it's always funny to hear people talk about wearing masks on TV shows and in music because it's like, this is real. And, when coronavirus first hit, I always thought it was so unique when you'd watch TV and if people weren't wearing masks, you're like, okay, like this was shot before coronavirus. If people were wearing masks, so, I almost feel like it's that tipping point where I don't feel like anything's ever going to be the same. And if these variants keep on coming faster than these vaccines are coming, or, even if they're not coming. So if you have the vaccine, then if you hit an unknown variant on a vacation, I mean, it doesn't really do anything, right?
That's true. It's scary because when you look at the way these things are set up, these vaccines and everything, and then I guess we just thought COVID was going to be the one that we were going to be dealing with. And then, bam, we get Delta.
Right.
Now we're in Omicron. And it seems to just be a list. We're going to go through all the Roman numerals, and all of that stuff because it's not going anywhere. I think it's something that's here to stay. And I know even when we went through the last, what I consider pandemic type situation with HIV and those type of things, the HIV thing hit and, they started coming up with ways to control it and whatever, and they managed to be able to control it since then. But this whole thing with what we're doing now and all the different vaccines that they're trying to get, and it just looks like we're never going to be rid of this.
Yeah.
Never, ever. And, I know a friend of mine, brother, was staying with her for 6 months. And he's from the DR. So he went home recently, last month, I think it was, he said, to the DR where he lived with his wife. He got home and got sick. And unfortunately, he passed away last week.
Oh, wow.
From COVID.
Wow.
And so now that they're looking at it, my friend was saying that in looking at everything, that they're wondering whether this could be something that might came from this new variant or whatever, because after all, in these foreign countries, and of course, we didn't say earlier, this variant is originating in South Africa and Africa area. And so we don't know just how widespread it's gotten yet, other than what's being reported, but do we truly, really know? I know I was in the hospital last year, in February last year, and I was in for a weekend, and I remember a guy came in and he was complaining that he was having issues and so forth, and that he lost his sense of smell, and keep in mind, COVID hadn't been in Delaware, reported in Delaware yet.
No cases.
No cases yet, right? This is February. So, it was early February on top of it. And so the guy's doing all this talking and whatever and the doctor's looking at him like he's crazy. He said, well, we can't find anything wrong with you and whatever. So I remember he was still complaining when I left. Now I look back at everything and see what the COVID, what the symptoms were and everything. That guy had COVID. I bet you he had COVID. And it hadn't been reported here.
Well, like now that I hear you say it, there were a lot of people the Christmas season prior to 2020 who complained about symptoms such as, those COVID symptoms. Because I remember a lot of people saying, you know what? And I mean, they might have been paranoid too, but a lot of people were like, I think I had COVID last Christmas, last Thanksgiving, which is possible because, so my son caught COVID last year. I guess he was asymptomatic. But, so I'm sure it had been around, and it probably wasn't until, some of those death numbers started adding up that, people even noticed. And, going back to what you said about the DR, so over Thanksgiving, I just happened to go to the DR too. But when we looked at the travel advisory for the DR, nobody from the DR can come to the United States. So, I mean, as of right now, no non-U.S. citizen can come to the United States. So,
and this was when did they post that?
So I'm not sure. I know when I looked last week, Monday or Tuesday, cause I wanted to make sure we were safe to go over and come back. That's what it says. So depending on how long your friend might have stayed, if they were not a U.S. citizen, they wouldn't have been able to come back right now anyway.
Well, they were born in the United States,
okay.
so they lived over. They lived in the DR.
So are they a citizen or?
I think I don't know if they had dual citizenship or whatever, but he lived in the DR, and his wife is from the DR.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right, so they could probably go.
But he was born here in the States. So. All right. Well, COVID, like I said, it's here to stay. Matter of fact, and I'm going to jump into our next subject, which is, we're still talking about COVID, but I just wanted to jump into the little sports thing right quick, because right now, the Dallas Cowboys, and everybody who's listened to the show know that's my favorite team And of course, I'm kidding about that. But
they're almost like your arch nemesis.
Yeah, I can't stand them. Anyway, I say it every show, so everybody should know by now that's been listening to us. But their head coach currently has been tested positive for COVID and won't be allowed to coach in tomorrow night's game, along with 8 other people in that organization. And I think I saw today, at least 2 of them were players. It could be more. The rest of them could be staffers. But they said at least 8 other people in that organization has COVID right now, or tested positive for COVID. So you can see this thing is really deep. And they're not the first team, because it's hit almost every team in the league so far, as far as the COVID numbers have gone. Just not necessarily so many at one time. So I just wanted to bring that up just to say. And of course, both the Eagles, and I will bring my team up, upset, but the Eagles and the Cowboys both lost over the Thanksgiving weekend, so they have nothing to be thankful for, as far as football is concerned anyway. Right. So, all right. So I just wanted to bring that up. All right. Moving along. Okay. Let's talk about some entertainment. There's been a lot going on. It's been an interesting couple of weeks as far as entertainment is concerned. Leonard, did you get a chance to watch the Soul Train Music Awards?
I did not.
Oh, okay. That's probably because you were, busy.
Traveling.
So, but it was a great, great show. I tell you, Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell were the hosts. That was their 4th time hosting. They actually are also the producers of the show. And the show was very, very well done. I will say that from start to finish. The Silk Sonic opened the show with their new song. They got a new song. It's called Fly As Me. It's hot.
Oh, no. Was that the one you sent me the lyrics to? It was like this, bitch.
No. That's got me smoking. That's called Smoking Out the Window. Yeah. They closed the show with that one.
Did they?
Yeah, they closed the show with that one. But this Fly As Me is hot. I like it. And one thing about the Silk Sonic thing is that they taking it back old school, but they're doing the dance moves. They got everything. They won like 3 awards that night.
They almost like
and the album of the year.
They're almost like old school with new lyrics.
Yeah, and they play it out. They play it out well too. And each like Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, they got it. They work well. You can see they just work well together. But it was a great show. Maxwell was honored with a Legends Award. The guy did like a mini concert, man. He must have did like his big hits. He was out there killing it, man. I was like, did I just pay for this? Right. So one thing about Maxwell, have you ever seen Maxwell?
Yep. I saw him live in DC.
He put on a show though.
He had a show.
Yeah, he's worth every penny. If you ever get a chance to see him, folks, go see him. Maxwell is the truth. And Ashanti was given a Queen of Soul award. Boy, did she put on a show, and I have to say, she looked great. I ain't gonna lie. She did. Woo, did she look good. Anyway.
But, I mean, with that said, I can definitely say, like, Ashanti always looks good. And, I can say she stays low drama.
Yeah.
She performs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you follow her on Instagram.
No.
But if you say she looked great, check out her Instagram page because she looked great on Instagram too.
Okay.
She kind of reminds me, Ashanti and Mary J. Blige, they stay very under the radar, but as far as fashion and style and, just kind of like, putting those pictures on the internet that break the internet.
Yeah.
Both of them definitely stay on top of their
all
game.
Mary got to do is put a hat on. Because nobody can wear a hat like Mary wears a hat. And cause I watch the show that she's on, Power, Book 2, and she's straight on there. She's straight.
No joke.
The makeup flawless, everything flawless,
I'll tell you what, when I was in DR, I saw her on she played on something else prior to Power Book.
Okay.
And, almost like a detective with like a partner. And it's funny cause she still had that same, she wasn't Monet, but she's actually a good actor, and it's funny because I actually had to kind of remove myself from knowing her as Mary J. Blige just to look at the acting. But her acting is on point.
Well, she said that she goes to a place that with the acting that she a lot of it's personal, you
Right.
know. So the character she plays, she puts a lot of herself into.
Mhm.
So that's why she's able to come across the way that she does. But it was a great show. They had a lot of new artists that perform. One of my favorite parts of the show every year is when they call it the Soul Cypher,
Mhm.
and they have people they're like singing. You know, the cipher is supposed to be a rap type
Mhm.
thing, but they take a song and then they sing parts of the song, and they killed it on the cipher. It was really, they had new artists and they had old school artists like Music Sang and El Varner and a couple other people, but it was just hot. The show was great. So when you get a chance to see it,
I'll
definitely check it out. And
I was gonna say too. Speaking of Tashina Arnold and
Tisha Campbell.
yeah, Tisha Campbell, they go way back. They go way back, and you know, like I was just thinking now because I forget what I was watching. It was like a documentary, and I think the documentary was about both of them. Not only were they in like Little Shops of Horror, you know, way back,
Yeah.
but you know, it talked about their friendship, and it said that one of them got a gig in like France or Paris, and they would not sign the contract unless the other one could come.
Mhm.
And then, you know, of course, they both sing. They're both,
Yeah.
you know, so
They're
I mean,
both funny as
I mean, you know, it's definitely good to see that they just stayed together.
Their friendship spans
Right.
over 40 years. Matter of fact,
That's
it's funny that
crazy.
you said what you just said because they were on Wendy's show today with Leah Remini, was the host.
Okay.
And
Wendy Williams.
Wendy Williams show.
The
and-
person formerly known as
Yeah,
Wendy Williams.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
And Tisha Campbell was on the show, I should say. And her and Leah Remini also have a great friendship too, over 20 years. But they talked about it. They showed the picture of her and Tashina Arnold when they were 14 years old, and they're together at an audition.
Oh, I remember that.
And you know, and you can see they still look like themselves, but they just look like younger versions. And she just talked about how they actually have competed for the same part, and that it was never a competition. It was always, well, if I don't get it, I'm glad you got it,
Right.
that type of thing. And so they've been, you know, that's a Hollywood friendship that's actually endured for a very long time.
Definitely.
So, and even on the Soul Train Music Awards, Tisha Campbell was performing and dancing and everything, and she had a messed up knee. So she was out there performing, and when you see these two dancing, they did an opening number. I don't know how she got through that. She said she was in so much pain or whatever, but the next day she had surgery to have a knee replacement.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she's on the show today talking about she had just had this knee replacement.
So I guess she figured she was gonna get it all out. She was gonna mess up her knee as much as possible before they
She
went
said
ahead
it.
and
She
fixed
said she did it for the Vine.
And
You know,
I'm not mad about
Yeah.
it because, you know, even if we think about it, and I mean, we personally don't know the life of a professional athlete or professional actor, but I mean, like, how do you take time off as an actor during a movie shoot? No, sports is a little bit different because,
Yeah.
you know, you either gonna take time off or your body's gonna give you some time
Yeah,
off.
I'm gonna tell you.
But I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of performers who are just performing under pressure, performing hurt. You know,
Well,
all
when you
that.
figure if you don't do it, somebody else is
Yeah.
gonna do it.
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
I know with her, and you know, for her and Tashina to have the careers that they've had all these years, because they've been relevant basically since we first seen them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the first time I ever saw them was Little Shots of Horror. They, you know, then you saw Tisha Campbell on the House Party movies,
Mhm.
and then, you know, they end up on Martin together. And Tashina Arnold has been on like maybe what 3 or 4 different series.
Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah, you know, she's been on
Yeah,
and
no,
all
she-
successful
she's been
series.
working.
She's been working, and Tisha Campbell has been working.
Right.
You know, the
My
whole
Wife and
time.
Kids.
Yeah, I
That
know.
was one of my favorite shows too.
I'm telling you, they both have stayed very busy. So,
Yeah.
and even right now, you know, what you call Tashina Arnold's on The Neighborhood, and Tisha Campbell she's on this new animated series on Netflix. So she's staying busy still, you know. So they're both busy, and she was talking about a movie that she's in. So, but you know, that's the entertainment world that we're in today. But I wanted to make sure I brought up the Soul Train Music Awards because it's the only awards that is dedicated really to R&B music. which is about us, and and I really thought they did a great job this weekend. That was very good. So if anybody who hadn't seen it wanted to see it, check it out. I'm telling you, you'll really enjoy it. Moving on and still talking about Hollywood, I wanted to bring up something speaking of Pam and Gina, so, and matter of fact, Tisha Campbell was asked about, would there ever be a reboot of Martin? And she basically put it out there. No, we would never do it because we're missing a very big part of the show. Tommy. She said, without Tommy Ford, there's no show. And she said, even though we had the other main characters, Tommy was a very important part of the show, definitely. And we couldn't do it without him. Right. And so she kind of put it to rest that they would never do that show.
I understand, and I'll let you go into.
Well, and where I was going with this, since I brought that up, is Hollywood has decided that they're doing a lot of reboots of old TV shows. Mm-hmm. We got the Wonder Years. We got
garbage. I did not like.
But did you watch the original Wonder Years?
Yes, and
I love the original
like
Wonder Years.
Kevin, Winnie, all them people. But I call a picture of this one, and I'm like, okay, is this a comedy or a drama? Like it was too drama.
Have you watched it?
So I watched the first episode, and I was like, I can't do it.
Now I've only seen 2, and I'm trying to support it, but it's just
why.
Because I love the Wonder Years. I was a Wonder Year. I made my kids look at the Wonder Year. And matter of fact, my oldest son, when this show first came on, he sent me a text and it was a picture of that show because he remembered I made him watch the Wonder Years when the Wonder Years was on. And I thought that was the funniest thing on TV at the time.
And so my mother commented, why did they have to make it black? So I get reboots, but then it's kind of like, okay.
Well, I guess they wanted to give you another perspective, but the executive producer, director is Fred Savage, the kid from the Wonder Years. So, which kind of, it kind of makes you think a little bit, and I guess they put him in that position to try to get viewership.
Right.
But, I feel it doesn't work. I do. I've tried to look at it. And it's not funny enough, and I don't like the kids in the show. They don't have that appeal that Fred Savage had as a kid.
Well, but you know what? I think another good question is, so when I liked the Wonder Years, I was probably 20 years or less. I forget how old. Are we too old for that reboot right now? So, is there a younger generation of kids who are liking it?
I'm sure there's some people that are liking it, and it's on, what's it on, Netflix? That's Netflix, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it's and it's on the channel that the kids like to go to and all that stuff. So maybe other people are liking it. If people have any opinions, feel free to chime in our chat area. You can go ahead and put it in the chat. And again, you are listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. Tell us what you think about the reboots, because they're also getting ready to do a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But they said that the reboot is going to be based on, I don't know if you heard this, the reboot is going to be based on the opening song of the show. So they're going to do the show around that song.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I did see the teaser reel.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if you saw the teaser reel. He's in water. But they're playing
and
the
he's
song.
On the throne or something. Yeah.
Okay, so
but it's based on the song and what happened that led him to get into Bel-Air. Yeah. So
I'll tell you, it's real funny because I remember on social media, I guess the director or the writer of what's it called? Fresh Prince.
Yeah, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay, so the director or the writer, he had that teaser out prior to it going big, and I heard that Will actually picked it up. So somebody independently was making something that was very similar.
Oh.
And that allegedly, but someone making something very similar, and then Will picked it up, and that's where it kind of got a lot of its press, because I remember 3 or 4 years ago, somebody sent me one of those videos on Instagram to repost, and I reposted it. And Will Smith didn't have anything to do with it. It was almost like an independent project.
Oh,
So,
okay. I didn't know anything about that.
It's kind of interesting how things like that transpire.
Well, the whole thing is really interesting about how they're doing all these reboots and everything, because it's amazing to me how they're finding out that people are interested in all these shows. I know there's another show that I watch now. I've seen a couple of these shows that have been rebooted. Dynasty was rebooted.
That was actually pretty good. I watched that.
Really?
I
was a Dynasty fan. I love Dynasty.
I was not a Dynasty fan, but wifey was watching it. I watched it. It was all right.
Really? Okay. I was wondering about it. I'd never watched it. But
hold on. So let me ask this: did Dynasty have a lot of color in it?
No, okay. And that's what's throwing me off.
Yeah.
Because
so this one had a lot of color.
I know it did. I saw I would always see the little teasers and whatever, the trailers and whatever. But yeah, they only have one person of color on there. It was Diane Carroll.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what's so interesting about what they got going on there now.
She didn't even have a husband on there.
Yeah, but she did, and she was hooked up with
somebody else.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Okay.
And then there's another really good reboot that's on. A lot of people may not have seen the original series, but there was a series called The Equalizer back in the 90s, and it was on for a few years. And it was a white guy who had these certain skills. He was an ex-CIA agent, and he was really good at being able to help people without, being detected. He was an ex-CIA agent, so he was doing a lot of things undercover. Well, then, I don't know, Denzel comes out and does 2 movies called The Equalizer that's based on that character in that TV show. Now there's another show that came out last year called The Equalizer with Queen Latifah in that part, and she's playing the same type of character based on the TV show and the movies. So actually, this reboot is actually pretty good. It was the #1 rated new show last year.
And it's on Netflix?
It's on regular channel.
Oh, regular TV.
It's on CBS, I think, CBS, if I'm not mistaken.
And didn't they remake? What was the show with Della Reese? Was it Highway to Heaven?
Yes. Jill Scott is playing.
Yeah.
That I knew that was. I meant to say that earlier. Jill Scott is in a remake of Highway to Heaven. I actually watched the pilot episode of it because I used to watch that show when it was on.
Yeah, me too. I used to watch it with my grandmother.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying. Saying to her, my grandmother would watch Highway to Heaven. And just real quick on a spinoff. When I was with my grandmother, we watched Highway to Heaven, The Fugitive, which was my movie.
Right.
I'm sorry, my series, The Fugitive, and Matlock.
Well, there's a reboot of Matlock too.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reboots on there. So, but yeah, I just find it interesting that we have all these reboots out now. If you had a chance to reboot a show that you used to watch and you wanted to reboot it now, what show would that be?
So, that's a tough question. If anyone is listening to us now, they have a reboot they would want, drop it in there, and we'll either talk about it. We'll either talk about it or laugh about it, one of them. But here, I'll say this. One show that I would not want to reboot. I'm sorry. If it weren't for Damon Wayans, I'd just be like, I'm not even going to mess with it. So recently they announced a reboot for Different Strokes.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that.
With Kevin
Hart playing Willis.
Yeah,
playing Arnold. Playing Arnold.
And I mean, I saw that, and so I like Kevin Hart, but I don't like Kevin Hart. It's kind of a toss up. But I will say I like Damon Wayans, and I feel like he's funny in everything he's in. So I will watch the Different Strokes reboot based on Damon Wayans alone. But if I wanted to have something that was remade, that really is a tough question. So I'm going to let you go to yours. I'm going to think about mine a little more.
Okay, he wimping out on us, folks. Yeah. He wimping out on us. Okay.
I got to think about this.
Well, I have a show, and I really was feeling the show when it was on TV and everything. And I think it was a little bit before its time because it would fit right into today's time as well. New York Undercover. That was my show back then.
That was a great show.
Just the way they shot it. They had the club with the music going on in the background.
Right. They always had like the latest rap
music.
music.
They always had the latest rap music, and everything was hot on that show. The characters were relatable. They were cool people. I would love to see them do a reboot of that show, but they have to make sure that they had the right people playing the parts.
So who would it be? I mean, as of right now, like who would you pick for those two roles?
That's a good. Well, I don't know if you know who Anthony Ramos is.
Not all
from Hamilton. He did that.
Yeah.
Washington Heights. He could be the Hispanic character that was on the show. And then as far as the black guy, the black cop, I would say, well, I guess he would have to be somebody new and upcoming. You can't use an older guy, I guess, in that role.
Right.
But I mean, I would like to see a Michael B. Jordan or somebody like that play that part. But I don't think he would do TV like that.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't.
No, he probably wouldn't do TV. But he would be somebody in that range, or even what am I thinking about? Someone like the guy who's on All American.
The British invasion.
Yeah, the British.
Guy.
One of the. Yeah, here we go with the British
Right.
invasion people again. For anybody that heard the show,
we can't get no American actors on here.
I know, but isn't that strange?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it.
I'm about to say, you about to say Idris after that, huh?
I was going to say that. But Michael B. Jordan would be my first choice. I think him and like an Anthony Ramos could do that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of time to think, and so I'm taking this all the way back.
Here we go.
And you're gonna, I already know you're gonna think it's crazy, but this, it's gonna be okay. So it's gonna be a toss up between two. Now,
Okay.
Unfortunately, one of them I don't see how they could replicate it. I don't know who it would be. But one of my all-time favorite shows that I think a reboot is impossible, Sanford and Son. I mean, like that, Red Fox.
Well, if you look at Sanford and Son, and I'm going to throw in two other shows, The Jefferson and All in the Family.
See,
it'd be hard to bring any of those shows back now.
And I would say All in the Family.
I know, but I'm just saying because of what they talked about, and the controversy around the subjects, that they worked back during that time.
They
but
wouldn't work now.
But now you can get canceled real quick for saying any of the stuff that they used to talk about on those shows. Sanford and Son was a great show, but
I mean, and like
you can't do it out of Red Fox.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I can't even think of who that replacement would be. Now, another show that I loved, and I was super young. That's My Mama. Now that's
what do you know about That's My Mama? That show's older than you, man.
It's not older than growing up. We did not have cable, so TV. We didn't even have a VCR. Like my dad he was not a TV person. So I come home after school. That's My Mama would be like one of the first things on.
Now wait, hold on. That couldn't have been when the show was originally on. That had to be the reruns, right?
It had to be. Well, hold on.
Wait,
let's double check.
Wait, hold on. I don't think because the original show wasn't that the 70s? Yeah, 74 to 75. So you were watching the reruns.
Oh, hold on. Okay, maybe I'm not talking about That's My Mama. No, I'm not talking about
Okay, I was going to say,
okay, I'm sorry.
That's my era right there.
Okay.
So.
But I do remember watching that show, and I did like that show. So my show is What's Happening.
Oh, okay. That's a different.
Yes.
Okay, what's happening? Okay, what's happening? Okay, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so, but even then, you had to be watching. You were watching reruns.
Right. So just now we looked up What's Happening. It played from 1976 to 1979. So 1979, I was 3 years old. So So
and it's funny because That's My Mama was right around the same time. So So, and that's how come I'm over here looking at my partner over here like, hey, I watched that coming out. I was in school during that time.
Right.
So, but yeah, both of those shows, yeah, those were, I think they did a couple reboots of What's Happening.
Yeah,
they did What's Happening Now,
I feel like
and
did,
whatever. Dee from that show, she's real sick.
Is she?
Yeah, she's I think last I heard she was very close to gravely ill.
Oh wow.
She had something going on with her brain, and yeah, and she's a veterinarian doctor.
Is she? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
she became a vet. Yeah, Danielle Spencer.
Oh look, she was born in New Jersey, not far from us.
You know how many? It seems like there's a lot of famous people that came from New Jersey.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
A lot of famous people lived in New Jersey. I was like, I never thought New Jersey was all that great until I see all these people that came out of New Jersey.
Those taxes make
I know it's expensive.
It
is really expensive.
Property taxes.
Yeah. So you had to become famous in order to live in New Jersey, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but see, what was the other one? You said two, right?
Yeah. So Fred Sanford one.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And What's Happening?
And What's Happening? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What's Happening?
And Dee was like the best character on there. She'd be like, ooh, tell her mama. And then they mess around, give her a lollipop, and she was cool.
That's right. Yeah, she was really something on that show. I also throw a caveat in there. I was a Miami Vice fan too.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
Like when you said New York Undercover, Miami Vice came
to
mind.
Yeah, but they basically were the same show. Yeah. Except of course Miami Vice had that glitz and glamour to it.
Yeah.
So, but they could probably do Miami Vice now. So, but yeah. If anybody had any comments about the reboots that we just talked about, or any that you wanted to talk about yourself, feel free to go ahead and put it in the comments or whatever. But we're going to move on. I see my man has another topic he wants to talk about.
So I mean, the other day I saw this post on Instagram that just talked about, what a great job 50 Cent was bringing. A great job he was doing, bringing a lot of young actors into the fold, and developing young actors and talent, and bringing back some famous people who we like in their acting roles. We already talked about Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Dave, you kind of hooked me on to Power.
Right.
So I've been watching Power Book 2, BMF. So, we kind of speak about those. We probably need to start speaking about
Raising
Kanan.
Yeah.
In fact, we may have to have a little segment where we
talk
speak
about
on an
the
episode
show
here without giving any spoilers.
And shout out to Delaware, because a couple of those shows have people that are from Delaware acting on them, and also producing and directing on the show. So shout out to the Delaware. It's a family called the Fergusons, friends of mine. So I just want to give them a shout out.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. So I mean, if you know him, bring him on the show. Cause what was the dude's name? He went to jail. And he ain't snitch.
Yeah, gosh, what was his name? Man, gotta look it up right quick. Gotta look it up. But go while you're looking that up. Go ahead and talk about what you already talked about.
Yeah. So basically, there's a lot of controversy out there because 50 Cent's bringing a lot of great shows. He's developing a lot of actors. So I mean, like just some of the new actors he's brought about, like Michael Rainey Jr. Of course, Lil Meech and all of them.
Right.
But so like when I posted it, I'm thinking everything's good. People are gonna be like, yeah, he's doing a great job. But a lot of the comments were talking about 50 Cent doing we always hear the term drug dealer music. He's doing drug dealer TV. Shows that are kind of perpetuating the stereotype of shooting, killing, drug dealing. Kind of living that life. And, for myself, I was kind of conflicted because, we talked about it earlier too. One, if he doesn't produce those, I would rather somebody of color produce those movies than somebody who is not of color.
I was hoping that's where you were going with this. Yeah.
And then two is kind of like, okay, so when these people produce, and if anyone has any comments regarding this, whether they think it's appropriate or not, But, two is, there's people who, like, when they produced the Godfather series, I'm sure nobody was, knocking them. Well, maybe, but, I think nobody was really knocking them for producing those movies because they knew that was entertainment. And I think, for me, and this is one thing I always tell my kids, and one thing I feel myself too, is you have to be able to recognize what's entertainment and what's true life. So, when I listen to music, I can listen to whatever music I want, whether it's gangster rap, whatever. And I'm not swayed by the content to go out and sell drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I watch 50 Cent and, some of these other series, I'm not swayed to go out here and be shooting people and trying to take over corners and blocks, So, I think it's kind of hard to say. I mean, like, I think it's just a separation of, okay, some stuff is entertainment, and then, but we know what to do or not to do.
Well, I agree with you, and I see where you're going with this whole thing. But I think that the whole thing is, if we're not the ones that's going to put it out there, like you started off saying. Oh, and I just realized I wanted to make sure I gave the correct name. I said Ferguson. I meant Woodson. Was the family name of the people that are producing and acting in this show. Shout out to the Woodson family. But I just wanted to say that the white folks. And I had to keep it plain.
Dave, tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it like these major movies, American Gangster, a lot of the mob movies. I watched the Godfather of Harlem on TV when that series is on with Forrest Whitaker. That's also white produced. All this is about the same stuff. It's all about drugs. That was about Bumpy Johnson, one of the most notorious gangsters ever. And they're going to tell the same stories. They're going to tell the stories that we're trying to tell and so forth and so forth. So why not have 50 Cent put it out there? And a lot of, like 50 Cent, this BMF show that he has out there is based on true story. And, he's putting it out there and people are watching. I mean, he's made stars of a lot of people. The people are tuning into his shows. He's been given, and he also has been given deals to develop other shows as well, not just these type of formats, but this is what's opened it up for him.
Right.
I mean, so he's not just a rapper. He's no different than Jay-Z. But everybody loves Jay-Z, but he's just doing things a little bit differently, and he's putting these people in place. He's putting the actors in place to work, and he's putting these shows out there for people to watch. And the actors that are working, that's where we are. I mean, you can not like it or whatever because of what it perpetuates, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So
yeah, and I definitely agree. I think there was 2-Bit.
Yeah, 2-Bit.
Okay, 2-Bit.
Yeah.
Shout out.
And his name is Ferguson, but the family the friends of mine, their name is Woodson. So that's so.
So I mean, it was a lot of controversy, and I understand both points, but it's kind of like, okay, if my talent is producing and this is the genre I'm in, I'm gonna want to produce what I know.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, okay, well, would we rather have 50 Cent producing these movies or nobody producing them?
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting to see the story unfold, and the fact that they have one of the major players, one of the Flannery brothers' son, actually in the show, that says a lot because he's not only telling the stories, but he's using, the son from one of the major players of the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's dope.
Yeah. So that's really cool how he did that and able to do that. So, okay. All right.
Yep. And then, I also want to talk about, so just recently, I think it was today or yesterday, Rihanna was honored in Barbados as a national hero, which they say is kind of like the highest honor that somebody can receive representing the country. And of course, she does good work all over the world, and she always shouts out Barbados, and that's one of the reasons why she was honored So, I just want to kind of recognize that as well.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to want to recognize Rihanna.
Yeah.
She's our Kim Kardashian, type person. She does what she's making it in the makeup and beauty world. She's, of course,
Yeah.
she hasn't released the album. How long now? It's been a long time.
It's been a minute. She probably don't need, but
she don't need to.
But I mean, she released what? Plain lines of the lingerie, the makeup.
And
I'm
now
sure she got other things.
She just unveiled the new pajama wear.
Okay.
It's interesting because it's getting a lot of controversy because it has the butt.
Right.
I said she must have talked to Prince about this one.
Right.
And then there's rumor that she's pregnant, right?
Yeah, that is the rumor.
Yeah, that guy's probably smiling, right about now. So, let me see. So we're going to have a little Rihanna running around pretty soon, I guess.
Or a little ASAP, one of
them. Well, we know that that child probably will be a talented little person. So definitely, yeah. So
be running around here, children of privilege around here. So you definitely can't help that. And so we're also talking about over the weekend, I believe it was Sunday or Saturday, we heard that Virgil Abloh had passed away, and it kind of sparked a lot of controversy because people were saying that I think he has some type of cancer. I think some type of rare cancer at that. And it sparked controversy because people were like, oh, we didn't know. Why didn't we know? And I think a lot of the controversy just came around what's private is private, what's public is public, and people kind of started comparing Chadwick Boseman, how he had the prostate cancer, nobody knew. How do you feel about what information should be released to the public, what information should be held private, and how should us people in the public respect the private lives and the private matters and the medical matters of celebrities that we revere so much?
That's a tough question, because if I was a celebrity and I was like a Chadwick Boseman and so forth, and Abloh, and a lot of people knew who I was, if I was really that sick, I would work as long as I could. But if I got too sick that I couldn't work, you wouldn't see me. I would probably withdraw, and probably just my family would probably know, and hopefully none of them are going and selling it to TMZ or someplace,
right.
To make money off of it. I mean, I thought the way that Chadwick went out was fitting and king-like. I mean, he was stoic about the whole thing. He worked all the way up until the end. That Ma Rainey movie that he did.
Oh yeah, excellent.
He worked, and none of those people knew he was sick like that. And just imagine the pain that he must have been in, to do that. But then you got this situation with Abloh, and I have to admit I didn't know much about him before this happened. But then when I started hearing the commentary come in and everybody was talking about him, I heard what Kanye had to say about him, and him and Kanye were really, really close, and they did a lot of collaboration as far as the fashion world was concerned. And some of the other people, Nick Cannon was talking about him this morning. He was talking about how that was one of his guys and so forth. So a lot of people have come out and talked about this guy and saying how great he was. But nobody knew.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Nobody knew. And so he managed to keep that to himself, and he dealt with the fight on his own. And I guess, if you're a person who has a certain sense of pride and a certain sense of ownership in who you are, I guess that's the way you're going to do it. I mean, you're going to keep it to yourself. You don't want people to feel sorry for you. You don't want to have a pity party or any of that type of stuff. So I'd rather go out with people seeing me for who they always saw me
Right.
as opposed to, oh
Like kind of
man,
withering out the game.
because it's look, my family had been ravaged by cancer. My mother was one of 12 kids, and every last one of them died of cancer. And then my father's side of the family my father was one of six, and five of them died of cancer. So when you look at it, um, it's one of those things that most families don't want to deal with, and it's a hard thing to deal with, especially if you watch somebody just wilt away.
Right.
And unfortunately enough, I didn't have to go through that with my mother, but I saw that with some of my aunts and uncles. So, and it's a tough thing to go through. So I have to applaud him for the way he handled it, and I think he handled it the best way that he needed to handle it.
Yeah, and kind of speaking about all that, it kind of reminds me. So before, when nobody knew that Chadwick was sick, there was a picture that was released of him where he had, it looks like he had lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And, people were making fun of him. Like,
not just making fun. They said some terrible things.
Yeah, I mean, like they were going in. He was the subject of some memes. So, that being said, like the public, they love you till they hate you.
Yeah.
And, they can be very cruel. So, I can definitely see, kind of like you said, if I start to feel a certain way, or, I'm deteriorating in like ability or mentally, I'll probably withdraw myself too, because, I mean, it's just so crazy that, and, we talked about Black Panther, just what a highlight for African Americans that movie was. And Chadwick was almost like, he was Black Panther in the movie, but he was damn near a superhero in real life.
Yeah.
But just for that image of him, just because of that picture come out to, people want to make fun of him, torment the picture. And then when he passed, everyone's like, oh, like, we didn't know, we're sorry. And, it's just one of those things where, okay, like, if I'm going through something, I don't want, that to be my legacy of, looking a certain way or acting a certain way and being, trending news for that reason.
I know when it came across the screen that he passed, I remember what I was doing. I remember where I was, and I just remember my mouth just dropping open, and I was like, wow, I can't believe this, And then I said, okay, that explains it. And I wonder how many people probably said the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that explains it. Because I remember he did a movie, 21 Bridges.
Yeah.
Leonard gave it a big thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chadwick. We still love you.
Yeah, but he tried to make that movie work. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh, did you see it?
I went to the movies to see it.
What did you think?
Never
mind. All right, go ahead.
But I just remember the reason I brought it up, not to do my review of the movie like he just did, but anyway, I just remember when he showed up on the screen for the first time, and I was like, wow, he looks different. And because that was like after Black Panther had come out. And I was like, well, he doesn't even look like the same guy that was in Black Panther, and because he had gotten so thin.
And I think it was hard because that movie wasn't a happy movie. It was more of a sad movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, not a sad movie, but it definitely wasn't.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, like, it definitely wasn't a pick-me-up type movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He, but even still, you watch him work, even through Ma Rainey's, the Ma Rainey movie, and he gave it 100%, and he worked his butt off up until that point. I mean, he was even nominated for awards for that movie, but the same thing with this guy Abloh. The people, apparently a lot of them had no idea he was sick like that, and the people just said, hey, he was a great fashion. He was great in the fashion world, and a lot of people really, really said a lot of great things about him. Because I was watching TV today, and yesterday, and a lot of people had a lot to say about him,
Yeah. So I just want to do a PSA. Black men, go get your screenings, go get your tests.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a shame what's happened, but to be honest, like there are a couple of tests I need to sign up for days. So, I'm about to sign up for mine.
Yeah. Well, like I don't know if you guys, I said this before about Leonard and I are different ages. Leonard's about 25 and I'm,
I
but I'm
appreciate it.
I'm 61. But anyway, and we're from two different ends of the spectrum, but he's right. Men have always had the stigma in reference to not wanting to go to the doctors and that type of thing. And, and we need to find out the things that are wrong with us and so forth. You heard me mention earlier that I was in the hospital, in February in 2020. And I just remember sitting there, after finding out I had blood clot in my lung. I just recently talked to a friend of mine's sister, and I was asking her how he was doing, and she said, "Oh, you didn't hear?" I said, "What?" And she said, "He died. He died a few months ago." And I was like, "No, I didn't know anything about that." I said, "From COVID?" Of course, that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. And they said, "No, he had blood clots in his lung." Now, I've had this twice in 5 years, and fortunate enough, I listened to my body. I knew something was wrong, and I went to the hospital, and they were able to treat it. She told me that he was complaining in silence for a long time that something was wrong, but he never went to the doctor, and he never went to the hospital until it was too late. When he went to the hospital, he stopped breathing while he was in the hospital, and they couldn't revive him. So, this is, we definitely, the PSA is definitely real, y'all. We need to, and that's not just men either. I'm going to say women too, because women already have a bunch of things that they have to already keep, check on. But these days right now, with everything that's going on out here, and especially in this world, we need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, people. So please get the screenings, please get your tests, and make sure that, the appointments that you do have on the books that you go to,
Mm-hmm.
So let's do that.
So I think one of the last things we're going to talk about, we can just skim over it real quick, but so there was an article talking about how Uganda basically is about to get scammed out of their airport. So of course, China has been swooping in on a lot of Africa and lending money and, flashing green. And they said as part of a loan repayment, the Uganda airport was tied into it. And unfortunately, Uganda, I guess, has failed or looks like it's going to fail in, repaying that loan. So they may lose their airport to China. So, of course, when I looked at the comments of the article, everyone was like, we knew this would happen. Like, how could they, not pay back that loan? How could they, fall for that? But, over the years, and I mean, of course, Akon, of course, he's been doing a great job developing a lot of Africa for water, power, cable, and, just technology. But there are a lot of places where, other countries have profited off of Africa and are now taking advantage of, one-sided deals or deals that they know could not have been repaid. So what do you think about, these countries kind of coming in and profiting off of Africa and maybe even robbing Africa at the same time?
Well, I mean, Africa is the largest continent, right?
It is, and the one with the most resources.
And the one with the most resources, that is correct. So I could see a place like China doing something like that because China is ruthless. They kind of hold the whole world, hostage with all the stuff that they have going on there in China, especially when it comes to, technology and all this other stuff that they have going on. So we have to make sure that we stay up on everything, and even with people in Africa, to allow them to come in and do that deal and rough you off like that, that's like coming into your neighborhood and saying, hey, that's mine.
Right.
And you say, no, it's not. And then they show you a piece of paper saying, yes, it is. And they take it from you. You know, what does China need with the Uganda airport? But we're going to find. I guess we're going to find out, right?
Well, so any minute there gotta be some planefuls of people coming in, setting up shop.
Yeah.
And to be honest, just like they do in the hood, I mean, I don't know what the Chinese store comparison to Uganda is.
Mm-hmm.
Check cash. I mean, it's just like the liquor stores, all that.
Yeah, it's amazing. But that's, folk, we got to stay awake. We got to stay woke at all times and paying attention to what's going on around us and how people come in and they're able to do these things because we're not paying attention to what's going on.
Or the money confuses us. Flashing money, like, okay. Well, so I don't know allegedly how much corruption or non-corruption there is in Uganda, but, I can just imagine one, let's say one presidency to receive money in terms, and when they're out of office, that money may not transfer over.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, some of those agreements.
Well, I know Africa has a lot of discord when it comes to government and everything. So, what might be working in one part of Africa may not be working in the other part of Africa. And all it takes is a smart person or a smart group of people to go over and talk to the right people. And that's it, and that apparently that's what's happened, It's a shame. But I guess we're going to hear more about that story.
Yeah,
I'm sure. You are listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Len. I guess we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say congratulations to my partner here. He was fortunate enough to have a story written about him in Out and About magazine, which is a magazine here in Delaware that has, talks everything Delaware and everything. And hopefully you guys will get a chance to see, but it's all about black businesses and entrepreneurship and so forth, and how well Mr. Young has done with his business and everything. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what they talked to you about?
Yeah, so basically, of course, my name is Leonard Young, and my business is National Black Guide, and it's really focused on promoting black businesses, black news, black events. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at National Black Guide and then nationalblackguide.com. And basically the article was just recognizing the need for supporting black businesses in this day and time. So it was a great article. If you want to check it out, you can go to, I think it's Out and About, or maybe outandaboutdelaware.com.
Okay, Out and About.
And, you can check it out. And that kind of reminds me, how did the Black Friday party go?
Oh, okay. As you'll notice how he just took the whole thing off himself and he put it in my area.
Well,
I know. We did very well with the Black Friday party, and it turned out to be a very good time. Actually, we had quite a few people to come out, and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves. We had dancing, we had music, and shout out to DJ Tim Dog, who provided the music, and DJ Ice. And everybody, and Two Claws, I want to shout them out as well. So we had a great time that night, and actually looking forward to the next event that we are looking to do. So you'll be hearing about that soon. So and we will be advertising on Delaware Black and all of the and National Black Guide. I always like to use. Matter of fact, there was in Leonard's article, I made sure I got my 2 cents in on that article.
2 cents.
And
2 cents,
but we tried to make sure that Leonard has a lot of people that follow his online sites and everything. So always try to make sure that anything that I need to advertise or whatever, he's always gracious to put that information on for me. So I really appreciate that.
Good. I appreciate it, Dave. Mm-hmm. So everybody, just wrapping up, you are listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. Make sure you follow us here on Podbean or whatever platform you are on. Check out our Facebook page, which is Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn on Facebook. And then, make sure you like, share. And if you have any questions, hit us up in the chat and we will be with you next time. Dave, you have any final words?
No, actually just want to say everyone stay healthy. Please be aware of what's going on out here in the world. There's a lot of craziness going on out here. So please, be